What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Bronx Pinstripe Show. We're brought to you today by Game Time. Game Time is the easiest way to buy tickets to sporting events, concerts, comedy shows, or whatever else you want to go to for a limited time through October only. So do not hesitate on this deal. You can get $20 off your first purchase by downloading the Game Time app, creating an account, and using promo code Bronx. We'll tell you more about Game Time in a little bit. Scott, what are your thoughts on bringing in an outside company that makes chicken? And we just analyze how they do things, and then we apply that to our own podcast operations.
That makes chicken.
Yeah, chicken. Purdue.
Chicken. Not what about like a note taking company? Like how they take notes.
Yeah.
How they set up a rundown and just see how they do things.
Yeah.
And then apply it. Or chicken.
Self-evaluate.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's a worthy cause. It's a worthy cause for some organizations. The New York Yankees, I don't know how much stock I put into it, but apparently, yeah, this is news. It's a little bit. I know it's been out for a bit, but we haven't really talked about it much. Kind of hoodwinked, I think, into what the accountability piece was in the New York Yankees.
We talked about it when Steinbrenner said it, and we all thought that what the Yankees are going to be doing.
We haven't talked about being bamboozled.
Right. Well, what we thought was happening, which everyone thought it was happening, is the Yankees are hiring an outside firm to audit their operations and saying, like, you guys are doing this well, you're not doing this well, like maybe it's time to make a change. And we're like, great. Changing process is a good start for this team. But actually, what the Yankees are doing, from an article that Andy Martino posted, clarifying misperceptions about the Yankees, quote, audit, they are not having an outside company audit them. They are bringing in an outside analytics firm, and the Yankees are auditing that company to then compare how that company does things to how the Yankees do things internally. It's a reverse audit.
It's a reverse. It's an audit of the audit. It's an audit of how other people.
They're auditing the auditors.
Yeah, which is, it's one of those things, like you're doing it yourself, right? Can't really get in too much trouble if you audit yourself. You can really control the strings on that one. It's also really interesting too, because we have some pretty good information about who these auditors are.
It's hard to say.
Auditors. We know the group. We got some information about this. That it's actually a company that works primarily, right, with the Premier League, with football, soccer, and really has a lot of knowledge in analytics period and process of analytics period, but not necessarily baseball.
So, good friend of the podcast DM'd me a couple days ago saying that the analytics firm that the Yankees are speaking with is Michael Edwards's company called Ludonautics. And this is a company, Michael Edwards, like you said, worked in the Premier League for Liverpool and for Tottenham. Ian Graham is also associated with this company. And there's an article in The Athletic dated September 7th of this year, not talking about anything to do with the Yankees, only talking about this company that is being established. And they're an analytics firm. And what these guys did in the Premier League was the same thing that we've seen happen in Major League Baseball, football, NFL, every professional sport, is using data and using analytics to make decisions for rosters, for in-game decisions, and just how analytics have taken over sports, and especially baseball. And these guys did it with the Premier League in the early 2010s. And so they now have this company. I'm sure they consult for not just sports teams, but all different organizations. And what the Yankees are going to be doing is evaluating this company to compare how this analytics company does things.
It's so
stupid. So then the Yankees can then say,
allow myself
I don't know. I'm confusing myself on what is actually happening here. Basically, what's happening is nothing. A bunch of ball washing is happening in the Yankees front office this offseason.
The Yankees are bringing in a separate company to understand how they do their analytics, and then compare how that company does analytics and how they utilize it to how the Yankees do it. So it is a self-audit on their own process by comparing it to another analytics process that is primarily used for soccer. Okay, so we talked about this before hitting record, and this is one of those things. And something you just said to me, or you just said out loud, is exactly, in my estimation, the issue. You said the analytics company, or baseball and sports, are using analytics to make decisions. And the problem with that statement is that it's too definitive. What should have been the statement is that baseball and sports are using analytics to help make decisions. And unfortunately, that is part of the problem with the Yankees, is that they have gone too far. They went too far course correction with analytics and went too deep and forgot what baseball was. And now they are looking at how other people are doing it. And maybe there's a piece of this. Maybe analytics companies are saying, this is how we use data to then plug into the actual sport and supportive data of, things that are fundamental to the sport, fundamental strategies, fundamental process that have been tried and true forever, and how they are complementary or can fact check or give you an adverse opinion or whatever. It's a truth teller, and then you use that data to analyze, not just do the data all over again. If that's the case, we might as well just get AI to run the Yankees. Why not?
I think, and so there's a lot to unpack here. Analytics obviously got popular with Billy Beane and the Moneyball thing, like dating 20, 25 years ago. And we've seen organizations have a lot of success that are analytically driven. The Athletics back in those days, the Rays more recently, and some other small market teams. And people think, oh, well, the Rays are winning games. They're competing for division titles, and they have no big name expensive talent on their roster, and they don't spend any money in free agency. So they must know the right way to win baseball games. And the reason that the Rays, I'm just picking on them, have made all their decisions analytically driven is because they have to. They can't go out and spend in free agency like some other teams can. So they are left with, how do we find talented players that we can afford, that other teams might not value, and how do we win games that way? But the Rays have also not won a World Series. They got bounced again in the playoffs this year without winning a game. And then other teams that don't have the constraints that the Rays do, like the Yankees, have decided, we're going to run our business like the Rays and only focus on analytics, when in reality, they have the luxury of doing both. They can use analytics to make decisions. They can use their financial wherewithal to bring in players and make the roster the best that they can. And like you said, they went too far in one direction and not using it a blended analysis to make good decisions. And I do think that the Yankees, just like every analytics company, is going to look at this and say, it doesn't matter if you're making decisions for soccer or baseball or a chicken company. Whatever the data says to do, we're going to do. Like I was saying before we press record, oh, this player's expected weighted on base average is 360. Not even looking at what's his actual on base. It could be 290. 290 on base isn't a good player. But the Yankees would tell you, or analytics people would tell you, expected weighted on base 360. He's a good player. He's going to be a good player. He's getting unlucky.
Right.
And while that could be true, and I'm not saying you should disregard that player because his on base is only 290. You shouldn't say he's definitely going to be a good player and we're going to put all our eggs in this guy's basket because his expected numbers say one thing. And then you get in the real games and he does not perform. Or you get in a real situation and he can't move a runner over.
Yeah, maybe he's unlucky for a reason. Maybe it's actually not luck. Maybe the opponent is playing him differently. Maybe they're pitching him differently because of a particular thing. There's a number of things that go into that. And so what's interesting is that and this goes back to, the comments that we've been hearing towards the end of the season. Judge made them, and they've been talked about quite a bit. Is maybe we're looking at and using the wrong numbers. Maybe they're putting too much emphasis in numbers that actually shouldn't mean as much. And when you're going to an analytics company that is just experts in data and how use that data for a particular purpose. They still need guidance on what's important, right? Like if you go into a business as a consultant, you have to understand what the goals are, where you currently are, what you're currently looking at, and then take a gander at the marketplace and understand what other teams are doing and what's working. So if you don't know those nuanced pieces within a particular sport in this case, then I think it's very difficult to apply those. And if we're just using the Yankees as the guidance for that, well, then, we're running in circles because they're clearly not looking at the right thing. And I think part of this goes back a little bit. I think that the Yankees have understood this when they brought in Omar Minaya last year. They brought in the guy from the Giants, forget his name, as executives to look at things a little differently. So it's not like, I do think the Yankees saw that they needed to make some changes. They just didn't know how to do it. And by bringing in some top level guys, like that was maybe just a first step, or just at least get some additional voices in the room. And now it's focused on analytics, but they better have the right people in place who are focusing the data points in the right direction. Because if they don't, if that's awry, again, you get back to a point where you're looking at the wrong things and emphasizing the wrong things. And then you're building a strategy on the wrong data points.
I forget where this was discussed, if it was a book or an article or something fairly recently, that the analytics department under Cashman since like 2016 went from like 1 person to 10 people to over 40 people basically overnight.
Yeah.
And it's the only
infested with nerds.
It's the only department within the Yankees front office that expanded at that sort of level. They didn't expand scouts. They probably reduced scouts, if anything.
Yeah. What do they know?
And so, the over reliance on this stuff, and bringing in some outside voices that do have more of that traditional baseball knowledge is great. But those changes don't happen instantly. Like we were talking, the last few episodes, analyzing your process and maybe changing your analytics approach or things like that. That's all great. Changing your minor league coaching, that's all great. That's going to take time to feel the impact of that. Those are changes for the medium to long term, not for the 2024 Yankees. You don't feel the impacts in 2024 of that.
You're right. Well, not in the way that you're saying it. I think again, we had this discussion. I think
you might add a player. You might add a player.
You might add a player to the roster, but
like
you change approach. You can change
the roster.
Approach.
But the approach, the roster is. There's so many guys on this roster. We're going to talk about some of the arbitration players, but there's so many pieces on this roster that aren't going anywhere. Those players are those players.
I do think that there's raw talent in a way that you can change some approach to get better results.
I guess you could change Volpe's approach. You could change some other young guys. You're going to be changing DJ LeMahieu's approach. You're going to be changing Anthony Rizzo's approach. You're going to be changing Giancarlo Stanton's approach. No, those guys are
the first two guys. I don't want to change their approach. Yeah.
But you get what I'm saying. Like a guy's 33 years old.
It's harder to make. You can't make immediate change. It's like it's turning a cruise boat. It takes time.
Yeah.
Although those things are getting pretty damn nimble. I don't know if you've seen them recently. They spin like.
I haven't seen cruise ships turning.
Well, I have.
Scott. What are you watching? Instagram? You see in port. What ports are you visiting?
It was I saw it in the port of Norfolk, and it was a I forget what cruise line it was, but all of a sudden it started turning in one place. It started pivoting. I'm like, what is happening? How is it doing that? And they got propulsion jets all over the damn place, and they can actually turn the damn thing in place. Pretty impressive.
Well, maybe it's like turning a big ass yellow school bus, because those things still don't turn well.
Those are difficult. It's amazing that school buses really haven't, advanced in technology. Now that I'm thinking, that's a good point. Why? There only are children in there. Why not get a better bus?
Well, they have seatbelts now.
Are they used? No one's looking at that.
But
I promise you, I got on the bus today, walked 4 rows back. I guarantee he did not use his seatbelt. Well, and I promise you that the bus driver was not asking and paying attention to see if he put on his seatbelt.
Well, at least they're there, because when I was riding the school bus, there were no seatbelts, and we used to sit in the back, and anytime there was a bump, we used to launch ourselves in the air and see if we can hit the ceiling.
Yeah, it's still the case. I remember a few years back when the MetLife, this is, I don't know, whenever MetLife was there, I went to a Jets-Patriots game, and the parking lot was completely demolished. You couldn't park. So they had us like parking in office buildings in like Carlstadt, and they bussed us to the stadium in school buses. I was like, I haven't been one of these in a while. It's exactly the same.
It's the same. It's the same. This is like the Seinfeld with George.
It's like the New York
Costanza
Yankees
saying,
back office. It's exactly the same.
It's like how Costanza's like, you know what hasn't changed? Toilet paper, and it's not going to change for the next 100 years. And then Jerry's like, they got double ply, they got soft, they got extra soft. Innovation. Anyway, boy, we haven't heard much from the Yankees. You Google Yankees news, and it's just a bunch of speculation, and people are reminiscing about the players who are still playing in the playoffs that used to be Yankees, because there's no active Yankees playing in the playoffs. Yeah. I predicted maybe a Tuesday or Wednesday of this week press conference. I thought we would at least have like a Brian Cashman is going to meet with the media on Thursday afternoon or something, but absolutely crickets. I, at this point, don't know if we're going to hear anything.
It's wild, the fact that they just gone completely silent here. Let's take a step back real quick and look what's happening in baseball, because there are some interesting things that are happening. We got our guy Jordan Montgomery moving forward, Nathan Eovaldi also moving forward.
Chappie.
The Texas Rangers look legit.
They got hot at the right time. Not a single win from an AL East playoff team.
Yeah, that's wild.
And
that's
so
wild. It also goes back to the fact that, like, I do believe that if you get the first round bye and have a great regular season, you're actually at a disadvantage. And that's why we see some of these wild card teams come in with such with steam, because they have so much momentum behind them, and they're used to playing every day. Sitting for a week, not great for baseball players.
Yeah, we've talked about this. So this is the second year of the 3-game wild card series. I don't know if I like it. I think I might like the 1-game wild card better, because it also doesn't create the problem of the first round buys sitting for 6-7 days.
For that reason, I don't like it. I've said this 100 times though. I don't like having baseball come down to 1 game and 1 game only. I understand that there's been a game 7 or a game 5, and that's 1 game, but you still have to play the other.
But they're still wild card teams, so they played a whole. You didn't win your division, so like
yeah, I get it.
But do you realize that of the 8 3-game wild card series, the winner of game 1 has won all 8 of them?
Oh,
and
really?
only one of them has even gone to a game 3, but the winner of game 1 won that. So I mean, it's still decided in the first game. It's just not a do or die.
Yeah, I understand. I mean, I guess you still have a chance. It feels like you have a chance at least, and you can line yourself up a little bit better. But yeah, I mean, look, the wild card teams are cruising right now. Texas obviously just beat Baltimore last night, so they're eliminated. Which great season in Baltimore, ahead of schedule. Really, they'll take this and probably learn.
They need
from
pitching.
It.
They need a starting pitcher.
And they're I wouldn't be surprised if they went out and made a move. I mean, this team is ready to win right now.
They're going to be in on Yamamoto. They're going to make a splash for Yamamoto.
Yeah, I think anything's on the table.
Are they going to
Honestly,
trade for one of the Brewers pitchers? It's not like they don't have money. Pitchers?
They do have money. Yeah, they have money, so I wouldn't be surprised. Diamondbacks also look like they're up 2-0 on the Dodgers.
That's surprising. That surprised me.
That's a team that came out of. They were not
Kershaw,
on my radar as being a team that was going to compete.
I was talking about this yesterday with Tyler Chin, who's a Giants fan, and he'll die on the Mad Bum always better than Clayton Kershaw Hill. But
Kershaw got lit.
Kershaw, how do you think Kershaw is going to be? He's obviously a first ballot Hall of Famer. I mean, he's had one of the best pitching regular season careers in history, so he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. And we've seen the stats. He's had so many playoff appearances and so many playoff games. He has had good playoff games, but his overall record and overall ERA and performance in the playoffs is not good. And yet again, he got lit up in another playoff game. How do you think Kershaw is going to be remembered, 20 years from now?
He's going to be remembered as an all-time great, but there's always going to be that conversation about how he didn't perform and what could have been. I think with these Dodger teams, they won in 2020.
2020.
They were the COVID champs. Yeah.
Kershaw also in that playoffs, I'm pulling it up right now, I don't think pitched well. They obviously won the World Series the COVID year, but postseason pitching in 2020, he did not pitch well. He had a 4.50 ERA in the NLDS, a 7.20 ERA in the NLCS, and he did pitch well in the World Series. He had a 2.3 in 2 starts.
He pitched in relief too, didn't he? He came in and had a good. He closed the game out.
No, he had two appearances in the World Series, 2 games started, 11 and 2/3 innings pitched, three.
He closed the
earned
game out in
runs.
one of the series at one point. I don't remember
Um,
the details, but so there, and then obviously Houston and Minnesota got off the schneid, got a victory. They needed the Yankees to not make the World Series or the playoffs for that to happen. So congratulations to them. You mentioned that you felt a little weird and guilty for rooting for the Twins. I cannot root for the Twins because their shortstop is named Carlos Correa, so I cannot root for them. If he was not there, I would probably have been pulling for them just because, I want them to win while the Yankees are not around to get out of the way. I believe in and everybody, I keep getting messages in all platforms saying that I look like Rocco Baldelli. It happens.
Well, you know why?
All the time.
Why I'm kind of rooting for the Twins.
Rocco Baldelli, the pride of Rhode Island.
Yeah.
But they still have Carlos Correa as their shortstop.
It's true. But I don't know. It's just that they hadn't won a playoff game in freaking decades. So it was like, cool. They won a playoff game. Cool.
Now's the time.
And like literally anyone. I'll root for anyone, not the Astros, to win.
Right. That's true. Although it makes it, I feel
because Carlos Correa. It's
I'm really conflicted on that one because I really don't like him, and I really don't like him.
But the Astros,
the Astros are a different team now. Like Bregman's,
but at the same time, the Astros continuing to win further supports Astros fans' arguments that the cheating did not matter in their winning. Clearly, they're good at talent evaluation. Clearly, they know how to develop players. Clearly, they know how to win at the major league level because they keep fucking doing it every year.
It's true. It's a good segue back to analytics because they do know how to develop talent and identify talent, but they use a blended approach. It's not, first of all, they were bad for a very long time and stockpiled picks.
Oh, they
same with Tampa.
Tanked.
They did the same
thing. When they came over to the American League, they had like multiple seasons of like 90 plus losses, 100 plus losses. Didn't they set the record for worst record in the American League in one of their first years? So they sucked. And then they drafted well because sucking is one thing in any sport.
You got to execute on.
You got to draft
picks.
well.
Yeah.
You can't draft first overall and just it's slam dunk every time.
Look at Baltimore. Baltimore has chock full of young guys, and
but
probably their best prospect.
Let's also realize Baltimore didn't suck for that long.
No, but they did well when they did. They did really well with their players when they did.
2018, Baltimore was a contender. 2019, they went into that season with Machado thinking they're going to contend. They sold
it feels
at that
so
deadline.
Much longer.
Because COVID has aged us all in dog years. But basically, they went into 2019 thinking we can maybe be a wild card team, which they weren't. But so really, you have 2020, 2021, 2020. No, because they were better than they thought last year. They had 2 years of sucking.
Well, they haven't had pitching in forever, so pitching's always been their problem. Yet they also they did all this, and they have a stud waiting for next year.
They've got a stable of young talent on the major league roster and a stockpile of young talent in the minor leagues still.
Is Holiday he's still at top 5, right? Top overall prospects. He's up there.
He's got to be.
If not number 1. I don't remember. I haven't seen the list recently, but he's up there. And dude, that kid looks so freaking legit. The fact that his dad's Matt Holiday.
His training is on point.
Yes. And he looks every part. He looks the part.
And he's not going to be a shithead because Matt Holiday,
he's grounded.
That's important for a number 1.
Hey, Matt Holiday was essential to this team when he came over. When he was 2017, Matt Holiday, massive.
It was a shame he definitely fizzled. He fizzled out towards the end of the seasons, but like early in that year, he was a pretty decent DH for the Yankees, and definitely liked his clubhouse presence.
I could argue that he was, instrumental in Judge's progression and how fast Judge turned around because they were also tight. And he's just one of those guys that you.
Too bad he didn't get his paws on Gary Sanchez.
It's too bad. He was not having it. He couldn't communicate well enough. Not receiving the information to do the right thing and go back home and actually train or not eat.
The thing is though, with we were talking about how no AL East team won a playoff game this year. you just know in the Yankees offices, they're like, well, see, it's a crapshoot once you get to the playoffs. Doesn't matter how many regular season games you win, how many division titles you win. It's like it's whoever gets hot at the right time. So we're right there. We make a couple changes. We're going to be in the tournament next year. And if we get hot at the right time, beautiful.
Yeah, I don't even want to.
It's nauseating, isn't it?
It's disgusting. It's a disgusting thought because you're right. And I hate it.
Yeah. A couple other things from the playoffs. We were just looking at like the managers. Definitely, of the teams remaining, Bruce Bochy with the Rangers, Dusty Baker with the Astros, Rocco Baldelli we mentioned with the Twins, Brian this is a hard. Snideker. I always fuck that name up. Brian Snideker with Atlanta, Rob Thompson, who we obviously know with
best baseball guy in the organization, probably.
But these are
best baseball guy in the organization that was let go. That had run the minor league camp. He was running minor league camp since like 96 or 97, something like that. Like a guy that knows how to get things out, and along with Girardi, just like allowed to walk out the door with that.
We laughed at the Bruce Bochy hire not Bruce Bochy, Dusty Baker hire when the Astros hired.
I didn't laugh at that hire.
I kind of mocked it. I thought Dusty Baker was way past his prime. Like, I just thought he was too old and wouldn't be able to relate. I get, but like
walk out to the mound.
I don't know, but it's been clear. Like, just because you have a traditional baseball guy in the dugout doesn't mean you can't still operate your team in the modern era.
I don't know why this is a problem. Of course, this is such an obvious. I'm not
saying it's a problem.
I know, but it's such an obvious duh for me. Like, again, it goes back to the cool dad and the accountable dad, the dad that you want to make proud. That's a guy that knows the game, has seen the things, has been there, has done that, has managed some of the best players that's ever played the game, and I don't know why that would be an issue. It's not like the young guys coming up aren't also baseball guys. Like, yes, they're young, they're a different generation, but it's not like, just because you're old, you're not open to, different ways of communicating and how this has happened forever, and people adjust.
Well, there's also just still things throughout a 162 game season that these are humans playing the game. It's not just computer simulations of numbers. So sometimes guys are going through things and you got to press the right buttons, or sometimes you have situations that you have to put players who are capable of executing in the right situation. And when
that's a guy who's been there, done that before. Yeah.
When you have a guy that's been there, done that versus a guy who's never been there, done that, it's obvious.
Yeah. Yeah. He's the guy that'll put his arm around you and make it okay. Like he's that kind of manager.
And don't misinterpret what I'm saying, that like, oh, Dusty Baker is the reason the Astros are still. No, that Dusty Baker is like the key to the Astros' success post cheating. It's like, no, it's clearly still the talent on the roster, but Dusty Baker has been able to get that talent to where they need to be. And I mean, shit, they're probably going to win again this year because they just keep winning.
Yeah. The battle for the state of Texas will be interesting if they get past the Twins, which I just assume they will, but that will be that'll be interesting.
The Twins got their victory. So like that's it.
They're good.
They're good for another 2 decades.
Yeah. So, and then Philly, Atlanta, which is the only one we didn't talk about, is I think just going to be a dogfight. The Phillies playing well, and Atlanta is probably the most talented team in baseball. So that's an interesting one.
Yeah. A couple other things we want to talk about, but first, tell you guys again about Game Time, which is our preferred ticketing app because it is the easiest way to buy tickets to whatever you want to go to. And there's so many good things on the Game Time app right now, even though the Yankees are no longer playing. The app has a ton of cool features and is easy to use. It shows you trending tickets, what sections the best deals are in, calls out cheap options and flash sales, and much more so you can make an informed purchase. The app is also just very clean and smooth, very, very intuitive. If you've use some other ticketing apps out there, I think Game Time is the best one. You get images of your seats before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect. The buying process is super fast, 2 taps and you are done. The tickets then go directly to your phone, so you don't have to dig through emails to find them. That's also key if you're going with friends because you can share them easily from the app. Snag tickets today without stress using Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code BRONX for $20 off your first purchase. Again, as I said, this is only going to be valid for like another 3 weeks, so don't hesitate. Arbitration players. So where's this from? trade deadlines, MLB trade rumors, right? Where the estimates are from. They always do the arbitration estimates based on comparable players and where they project salaries to be next year. Yankees have a lot of guys arbitration eligible, 17 in total. Should we go one by one here, or just talk about the ones that like we think are even going to be a question?
I mean, I think let's go one by one, but we can probably group some of these as we're going.
All right. Well, Gleyber Torres is the big one. This is his last year of arbitration. He's projected to make $15.3 million next year.
Yeah.
In arbitration.
And the decision will be, and this is something that we'll certainly tackle in our GM episode, because, one, opinions change, thoughts change as from what we've talked about through the season, but they have a decision to be made for him, at least, is do they pay him the 15 and change, or do they buy out that year essentially and extend him and look to invest in Gleyber Torres moving forward? It's a significant decision for them this year.
I think it's an easy decision, but yeah, I guess that's a decision they'll have to make. Clay Holmes this is his also last year of arbitration, because he's already got 5 years of service time. $6 million next year. So a lot of bullpen guys here. Loizaga, $2.5 million, also his last year of arbitration. Lou Trevino, last year of arbitration. We haven't seen him.
Who's that?
Basically since he was traded.
Is that another Cashman?
Another Cashman injury acquisition.
That's cool.
$4.1 million next year. Like, what's the point of that? Like, what are you going to pay Lou Trevino $4 million for?
They better not. They better not. The analytics team across the pond better say no.
Yeah. Across. You've got here Higgy, also last year of arbitration, $2.3 million. Franchi Cordero, 1.6. Domingo Germán, 4.4. Like, no, don't want him.
I swear to God, if they give Domingo Germán $4 million, I will lose my shit.
And alcoholism.
You can't walk into a season giving Domingo Germán $4 million and then look around and give Cortez less. Anybody else, Michael King less.
It's just, I understand alcoholism is a serious thing, and I hope he recovers from that. But there's just too much other baggage with Domingo Germán. Send him on his way and wish him all the luck. Whatever. I don't care. I don't want him near the Yankees organization. Nestor Cortez, $3.9 million.
You got to believe that the Yankees players are voicing their opinions about that as well, right?
I hope so.
Or haven't already.
I mean, we had it with Britain. Britain said this in 2019.
That's true.
About Domingo Germán, that he basically said, I don't want this guy on the team.
Yeah, you're right. This one was different in the sense that it was involving the clubhouse, with guys having to...
He was mocking a player. I forget which player Marinaccio, who was getting sent down. He was mocking a player getting sent down, which has got to be one of the most devastating things for a young player.
Yeah.
Absolute D-bag. Nestor Cortez, $3.9 million.
Yep.
Hopefully he's healthy. I don't know. What are you going to say about Nestor? Trevino, $2.7 million. The catching situation is going to be interesting what they do, because they've got Trevino and Higgy in arbitration, and obviously Rortvedt is on the roster. But like, do they go out and acquire a catcher, or are they content once again going into it with a defensive core at catcher?
Well, Austin Wells is absolutely going to be part of this decision. He's going to be in the mix for starting the season in with the major league team. He's probably, if you were to predict something, I would predict that he is going to be on the major league roster
with Trevino,
on the active roster. Yeah, one of the two. I think they have to make a decision between Higgy and Trevino, but I don't.
No, that's an easy decision in my opinion.
Maybe it's
Higgy was even talking about that, like he kind of knows that this was his last year.
Yeah, I mean it would make a lot of sense. You've seen this in the past with backup catchers who have gotten to the end of arbitration. They get dealt, or they don't.
Michael King, $2.6 million. If he is a starting pitcher next year, first of all, great value. And if he is a starting pitcher and has a decent year, his arbitration is going to go up significantly the following year.
So do you look to lock him up? Do you look at Michael King and see Luis Severino and try to work an extension deal?
No, I would say you see what he can do as a starting pitcher first. Like give him this year as a starting, because realistically next year in arbitration, If he is a decent starting pitcher, it goes up to like $6 million or something like that. So you're not like killing yourself. It goes up to $6 to $8 million. At that point, you could look at a Sevy deal. Here's 5 years, 40.
He would be a hard contract to understand just because he is in the middle of positions right now.
Yeah. I don't know. Clark Schmidt is also on here too.
Ryan Weber's on the list. They won't, great. But he'll be back at some point.
Jake Bauers. They love Jake Bauers. Jake Bauers will be back.
Yeah. Schmidt's there. Abreu. No, thank you. Yeah. There's a lot of no thank yous on this list too.
Of the 17, there's like definitely 7 right off the bat. You can give the Francesa hand wave to. And then of the remaining 10, it's like, there's a question on a lot of them. I think there's like 5 guaranteed bring back on this list.
Who are your guarantees? Glaber's a guarantee.
Glaber, Clay
Holmes is a guarantee.
Nestor Cortez.
I think Loaizaga is a guarantee.
That's not a guarantee for me.
I think at that cost, I think he is a guarantee.
Jose Trevino, Michael King, and Clark Schmidt. So I guess 6 guarantees for me. And if you want to throw Loaizaga in there, which I would not throw as a guarantee, I don't know what Loaizaga has done other than get injured that makes him a guaranteed to spend $2.5 million on. You can find another bullpen arm that's as good as Jonathan Loaizaga.
And you don't think? Did you say Nestor or no?
I said Nestor.
Okay.
So I have six guarantees.
All right. Yeah. 6, 7 would.
Glaber, Holmes, Cortez, King, Schmidt, Jose Trevino are my 6 guaranteed bring back.
Yeah. The only other one would be Loaizaga that I believe will come back.
No, I'm saying I believe. I'm not saying I don't think Loaizaga will be back. I guess what I'm speaking of, a little teaser for our GM episode. Those are the 6 guys I'm bringing back.
Gotcha.
The last thing I wanted to talk about is Giancarlo Stanton. I don't know why this popped in my head, but I was like, at what point, like how much money would have to be left before the Yankees seriously consider just eating the contract? Because there was a lot of reports recently that the Red Sox are serious contenders for signing Shohei Ohtani. I don't know how accurate those reports are, but
serious contenders for going after him. I don't know if it's necessarily serious for actually landing him. If you listen to why Ohtani doesn't want to sign with the Yankees, it would be similar reasons why he wouldn't want to sign with the Red Sox.
Apparently the reason I was reading why he is interested in Boston is because he is very close with the New Balance CEO, and New Balance is headquartered in Boston.
That's random as shit. Okay.
It's very random as shit. But I also have seen out of Boston that the Red Sox, they were like, where would we play Ohtani? Because they've got multiple guys who are already DHs. And exactly, it's like you figure it out. And I know the conversation for the Yankees is going to be, where would we play Ohtani? We've already got
Giancarlo. We play Bryce Harper. Oh, we don't. We don't have a spot for him.
Exactly. If the player is good, you find a spot for him. Shohei Ohtani is arguably the best hitter in baseball. Right there with Judge. You stick him number 3 behind Aaron Judge in a lineup, and you ask questions later.
Yes. And then at some point he's also in your rotation.
And that's the complete wild card here is a team going to pay him a guaranteed contract as if he's going to start pitching in 2025, or is a contract going to be contingent upon him returning to the mound? Because those are 2 very different values. If he's just a DH and he's just an MVP caliber hitter, certainly valuable, certainly big contract, but it's not $500 million like we're talking about.
I got a question. If you're Ohtani and in Ohtani's camp right now, do you go out not seeking a long-term deal? Do you go out seeking a short-term deal, understanding that your value is going to be significantly different once your arm is rehabbed fully and you're able to, go to market as a pitcher and a hitter? Because this injury was at the worst possible timing for him.
It would need to be a 2-year deal because he's going to need to prove he can get back on the mound and pitch. And he's talking.
I don't even know if he needs to prove it. I think he does a showcase.
No, I think you need to prove it.
Either way, it's short term. I'm looking at 2 years, 3rd year option type thing, whatever player option, and that way he's able to control his destiny a hell of a lot more. And if that's the case, you're looking at Scherzer type money.
Ohtani's not a Boris guy, right?
Not
Can someone
yet.
look that up? Well, you got a Boris, whatever the hell
There are
he
plenty of
called
guys
the,
who are like, "Oh,
what
I'm a
was
free agent.
what was the Boris
skip over
contract
Boris."
term for the
Honeypot,
honeypot,
something like that.
where you have a opt out after the second year for Ohtani, where the team could lock him in. So Ohtani gets a 10-year deal, but it's an opt out after the player opt out after the 2025 season, which is 2 years. The team could lock him in for the remainder of the contract by guaranteeing a certain AAV. And if they don't do that, Ohtani can hit the free agent market again.
And well, I mean, the discrepancy in the contracts though would have to be significant because of the delta between the contracts would have to be significant because of the fact that he's going to play another position.
Yeah, so it's like his first two seasons
at a Cy Young level.
So his first 2 seasons he'll make $35 million, and then
he's not making under 40.
Okay, but what I'm saying is, just as a hitter, he's a 35 to 40. I mean, Aaron Judge got, what was his AAV? 36 point or 30.
So Ohtani will get.
But Ohtani doesn't. But Ohtani doesn't play the field.
Okay, it's going to be okay.
Call it 38 million, which is about what Judge got to hit. Then, if he comes back and pitches, and you want to opt him into that portion when he's a two-way player, then it's $50 million. He's with CAA
for now.
And so I think if you're the Yankees, you have to be seriously considering Shohei Ohtani, because you would be fools not to. I don't know if Ohtani would ever sign in New York. That's not what I'm discussing here. I'm saying you do not let the Stanton contract, which is 4 years and a team option for 2028, $118 million remaining, of which Miami is paying $30 million. You do not let that stop you from signing potentially the greatest player since Babe Ruth.
1,000%. You cannot, not especially not being the New York Yankees, with understanding how much. I mean, it's pretty easy analysis for me too. If you're even Hal Steinbrenner, if you're looking at, a cost analysis for a guy like Ohtani coming into New York, it's,
oh my God,
it's worth
the
it.
merchandise, the streaming into Japan,
merchandising.
That the contract gets paid for in like 7 months.
Yeah, so it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer at prop.
You have
really
Hideki Matsui come to the press conference. You bring back Tanaka. Why not?
Look, that alone, the marketability of that player alone drives the cost up on the field. He does. He's different.
And I don't think the Yankees are going to sign Shohei Ohtani. That's not what
I don't think so either, but I think it's largely going to be because Ohtani doesn't want to come here.
No, I disagree. I think that's, I don't think.
I mean, I think it's going to break down the conversation is what I mean. I don't think it's going to get far.
But I think even if Ohtani was willing,
if Ohtani said, I want to come to New York, you don't think that they would do a deal? I do think that they would do a deal. I think that they would figure that out. Again, for all the things I just said. It's not just baseball.
Well, Ohtani would never say, I want to come to New York.
I'm just saying, if that were as clear as day.
But if Ohtani said, I'm open to the highest bidder, basically, I don't think the Yankees would be the highest bidder.
Yeah, that's a shame.
I think they would have a price. They would be in on it, because if they weren't in on it, it would be bad PR. But I think they would have a price, and that price they would know is not going to get the deal done. But they were in on it.
That's what you call dumb.
Yep. Heyman reported the Yankees not likely in on Ohtani. Ohtani doesn't like pitching in Yankee Stadium. Yeah, he has got rocked every time he's pitched in Yankee Stadium. But you know what he would like? Hitting bombs to the right field porch.
Oh, it would look so good. It would look so good.
Yeah. And instead, the Yankees they're going to, I'm not saying they will use the Stanton contract as an excuse why, but it will be yet another factor here as to why the Yankees did not sign Bryce Harper, did not go after Manny Machado, is because they made the decision to go after, or to take on, Giancarlo Stanton, which was going to be cheaper than those players because Miami is paying a little bit of that contract. And it's now what we're left with is a league average offensive player who can't play the outfield, who can't run the bases.
Dude, he's league average.
Well, he's worse than he was worse than league average this year. But like, best case scenario for next year is what? He plays 120 games and hits 25 home runs and hits 230.
Best case scenario for Giancarlo Stanton is 25 home runs. Is that what you just said?
How many did he hit this year?
Best case for Giancarlo Stanton, if you're saying 120 games, I mean,
By best, sorry, I meant realistic best case scenario. Best case scenario is he's the MVP again. That's not going to happen. He hit 24 home runs this year. How many plate appearances? How many games? Guys are looking that up. But a realistic best case scenario for him, he had 371 at bats. That's not a lot of at bats.
That's half. Yeah.
So he played in 101 games. So a realistic best case scenario for Giancarlo Stanton next year is like 130 games played. So he does probably miss some time, maybe one
35 to 40 home runs. 35 home runs.
That's not realistic, I don't think. With how he looked this year, you think 40 home runs is realistic for him?
I think
he hasn't hit 40 home runs with the Yankees in any season.
I said 35 to 40. I said 35 is probably closer. Again, like just go to Joey Gallo's baseball card, and that's what I think.
Because that's where he is. Stanton has not. Oh, that's Joey Gallo is realistic best case scenario for Giancarlo Stanton, whose career high with the Yankees in home runs is 2018 at 38. He hit 30.
But what's Joey Gallo been the last 4 years? He's not been He's not been the guy that he was in Texas with home run power.
I don't know.
I don't care. Don't even look it up. It doesn't matter.
So the last thing that we looked at for this is like, at what point would the Yankees consider eating the rest of the Stanton contract? And it seems like 2 years left on these massive deals is when teams bite the bullet. Adrian Gonzalez was let go with 2 years and $44 million. Bumgarner was released with 2 years and $34 million. The Red Sox released Pablo Sandoval with 2 years and $18 million AAV. The Orioles released Chris Davis with 2 years. They ended up getting a little bit of a break because one of the years was COVID, so they got a little bit of a discount there. But it seems like 2 years left is when, and the Yankees did it with Hicks, 2 years left. Not that Hicks' contract was comparable to any of those guys, but it's hard for teams to justify, and I would say for what I mean is for general managers to justify to the owner, you're going to be paying this guy for the next 3 or 4 years, and he's not going to be playing for us.
So I know there's been speculation about, flipping him for a player and another bad contract, essentially, so that a longer bad contract, or maybe it's not even a terrible contract, but it's a longer contract that a team understands that they're not ready for. This is similar to what I was saying last year with Donaldson and with Colorado and Chris Bryant. Similar like setup, like that. Those are pipe dreams, I think. I don't know if they're necessarily plausible or doable, but you'd also have to have a willing participant on the other end that also understands that Stanton's they're not there and they're not going to be there in the next 5 years.
Stanton's got a no trade.
Well, cross that bridge, I guess, but he doesn't like going places he doesn't want to go. He doesn't like being.
And I listen, does he love playing in New York? I have no idea. I don't think he is uncomfortable playing in New York, despite the fact that he struggled in getting booed. He stands up and answers all the questions. I think he's probably content with playing out the rest of his contract in New York.
I mean, I would, he's not going to, yes, I agree. He doesn't get fazed by the media, and he believes he's 2 tweaks away. So,
But what you do is for the Yankees, you say, okay, Stanton, we know you're not going to be the Giancarlo Stanton of 2017 or even 2018. We're going to still sign Shohei Ohtani and have him DH, and you're going to just play the outfield for as much as you can until you go on the IL.
Yeah, it's just it's a problem for roster construction, which is a huge problem for the Yankees. It becomes a bigger problem with roster construction.
Don't let that stop you from signing Shohei Ohtani.
So the solution for that, there's always a solution for problems. You just have to find them. You have to be creative, and it involves eating a lot of money.
Okay,
but you got to do that to open up a spot. You can't just have him, rotting away on where you could add another player that would fit the team an outfielder. Significantly better.
He's going to play the outfield.
Okay, he would be a problem. He would be a problem with the puzzle. Because he can't play out there all the time.
Exactly.
He can't do the things that another player that would do, a role player that would fit the team, that could actually help them win and not be a bad at bat and a limited outfielder.
So what you do is
can't run.
Man, I'm getting into my GM plans a little bit too much. You play Giancarlo Stanton in the outfield until he injures himself, and then you have insurance pick up the contract because he broke it.
Yeah, but I don't know if you can get insurance policies now, understanding how he's run. If I'm an insurance auditor, I'm looking at that man running. I'm like, you want to get more on him? That's going to cost a lot of money. That's going to cost a lot of money. I've seen how he ran. I saw how he played last year. I know what you're up to. I know what you're doing.
Well, I was going to say, it'll be interesting this offseason. It's not going to be interesting. The Yankees are not going to be. The Yankees will be in headlines for Shohei Ohtani because that will get clicks, but I do not truly believe they will be in on Shohei Ohtani, unfortunately.
If you are Shohei Ohtani and Shohei Ohtani's camp, you want to get those clicks also.
Of course.
So, yes, they will be a participant in the air. Who knows if they will be an actual – maybe they'll surprise us. Maybe. Stanton was a surprise. Didn't see that one coming.
Can they bring in an outside firm that the only thing they say is
Ohtani's
sign
good.
Shohei Ohtani?
Generational talent.
Good idea to sign that player.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's going to wrap up today's show. Anything else you want to chat about before we get out of here?
I would love to hear from the New York Yankees.
Oh, would you? Would you like to hear what they have to say? Okay.
Yeah, and I would love to come back on, before next week and talk about it if that does happen. I would love that. So, Brian,
do you want to pick a new date for when we're going to hear from him? Mine's come and gone. Do you want to pick a new day?
Oh, mine's way gone. So no, it doesn't. No, I'm not playing that game with them.
Will we hear from them before the World Series is over?
Oh my God. I hope so.
Because what they could be doing is they could
for baseball to be gone.
They could say we have decisions. We needed to wait until all of the cards were whatever that phrase is. We needed everything to be settled before we could make our decisions, and now we're ready to talk.
Yeah. Yeah, they need to look at things that they're not going to use.
Will we go trick or treating before we hear from the Yankees?
We better not. We better not. Yeah. So hopefully it's soon.
All right. We'll talk to you guys soon or next week.
Later.